Most people think darkness is just absence of light. I learned the hard way that some things only come alive when no one is watching, and they won't let you go. I shouldn't have gone that night. Blackwood Park was massive, overgrown, and officially closed for repairs. But curiosity got the better of me. I had heard rumors of a hidden trail on the east side of the park, one no one dared walk at night. I arrived just past dusk. The last streaks of sunlight barely pierced the thick canopy of trees. The trailhead was choked with weeds and vines, but I pushed through, flashlight in hand. The air was thick and smelled faintly of wet earth and decaying leaves. At first, everything seemed normal. I heard distant traffic, the occasional rustle of a squirrel, a faint bird call. But the deeper I went, the quieter it became. The world outside the trees disappeared. My flashlight beam seemed to barely penetrate the darkness. Then I heard it, the crunch of leaves behind me. I spun around. Empty. I shook my head. Just my imagination. I kept walking, trying to convince myself the path was safe. But the trail twisted unnaturally, curving in ways that didn't make sense. Every time I thought I recognized a tree, a rock, or a bend in the trail, it seemed to shift. It was as if the park itself was alive, reshaping itself to keep me inside. Then the whispers started. Soft at first, faint murmurs blending with the wind. I stopped. "Hello," I called. No reply. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of voices just at the edge of comprehension. They spoke my name, mocking me. "Michael, Michael, Michael." I ran. Branches clawed at my jacket, the dirt and roots trying to trip me, as though the park wanted to claim me. Ahead, the trail opened into a small clearing. A swing set, rusted and broken, sat in the middle. I froze. That swing moved, slowly, back and forth, as if someone invisible sat on it. A cold breeze brushed my neck. I turned. Shadows gathered along the tree line. Figures, tall, thin, unmoving, blending into the darkness. I could feel their eyes on me. Not human eyes. Hollow, endless, watching. Panic gripped me. I tried retracing my steps, but the trail had vanished. No familiar trees, no rocks, no signs of the path I had come in on. Only darkness, only whispers, only the figures. One figure moved closer. Smooth, silent, unnatural. Its head tilted at an impossible angle. I realized with a sick feeling that the other shadows were moving too, in subtle, jerky motions, always toward me. I ran blindly. Roots grabbed my feet, branches tore my sleeves. The whispers grew louder, now unmistakable. They knew me. They knew my fears, my memories, my name. They were not just shadows. They were alive, patient, deliberate. I stumbled into a stream. Cold water shocked me, but I didn't stop. The shadows were closer. Their whispers now became screams, sharp and agonizing. "Stay, stay, stay." I fell. The flashlight rolled into the water, flickering its last. Darkness engulfed me. I tried to scramble up, but the mud sucked my feet down, as if the earth itself wanted me. I don't know how I escaped. Somehow I made it back to the street, gasping, shaking, soaked, and covered in mud. When I looked back, Blackwood Park looked peaceful, harmless, empty. No shadows, no path, no swing moving. I never returned. But sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear whispers outside my window. My name, laughing, calling. And deep down, I know Blackwood Park isn't done with me. It waits. I moved into 7B on Elm Street because it was cheap, quiet, and close to work. I told myself I didn't care that the building was old, with peeling wallpaper, squeaky floors, and a faint smell of damp concrete. I had bigger things to worry about, paying bills, starting my new job, learning to live alone. The first night was fine. I unpacked, made a cup of tea, and sat on the couch staring at the ceiling. Outside, the city hummed softly, the distant car horns blending with the occasional dog bark. Then I noticed it. Across the hall, the door to 7A was cracked open. A faint light spilled into the hallway, yellow and flickering. I thought maybe the neighbor was moving in late, so I ignored it. Then I heard the footsteps, slow, deliberate, pacing back and forth in front of 7A. Not heavy footsteps, but a rhythm, methodical, almost mechanical. I froze. I didn't know anyone in the building yet. I opened my door cautiously. The hallway was empty. No light, no sound. My apartment door closed behind me with a soft click that made my stomach drop. The next night, it happened again. Footsteps, pacing, always outside 7A. I tried to convince myself it was the building settling, a rat, anything but someone watching me. But then I saw him, a figure at the end of the hallway, just outside 7A. Tall, thin, featureless in the shadows. No face, just a blank void beneath the dim hall light. He didn't move, but I could feel him watching. Not just observing, but studying me, memorizing every movement. I slammed my door and locked it. I stayed up all night, listening to the slow pacing, counting each step, every echo against the worn carpet. Days passed. I started noticing little things. Items in my apartment slightly shifted, faint scratches on my walls, shadows stretching in directions they shouldn't. The figure from 7A seemed to learn me, to adapt to me. Every night, he moved a little closer to my door. One evening, curiosity, or maybe desperation, got the better of me. I opened my door. The hallway was empty. I stepped out cautiously, peering down the long corridor. The air felt heavy, oppressive, as though it weighed on my chest. Then I saw him, at the far end, just outside 7C, standing perfectly still, not moving, watching. I tried to approach, rationalize, even laugh at myself. Maybe the shadows were playing tricks. But the closer I got, the taller he became. The more his presence stretched the walls, the carpet, even the ceiling. I stopped. My heart pounded. Then he tilted his head. Impossible. His head moved in a way no human could. A slow, deliberate tilt, as though calculating something. I turned and ran. Back into my apartment, slamming the door, barricading it. My hand shook violently. The next week, I avoided leaving. I worked from home, ordered food, did everything to ignore the presence outside my door. But the whispers started. Faint at first, almost indistinguishable from the hum of electricity or wind through the cracked window frame. Come, come, come. The words weren't audible to anyone else. They pierced my mind directly. They knew my name. They knew my thoughts. I tried calling the police, my friends, anyone. No one heard anything. No one noticed him. They said I was imagining things. I wanted to believe them. Then the doors started moving. Not just mine. The doors to every apartment in the building seemed to twist slightly, just enough to feel unnatural. And every time a door creaked, the figure appeared closer. Not by walking, just appearing. Weeks passed. I slept with all the lights on, curtains drawn. I barely ate. I didn't want to move, didn't want to breathe wrong, didn't want to look out the peephole for fear he would be there. One night, I finally snapped. I packed my bag, intending to leave the building forever. I opened the door, ready to run down the stairs. He was there, right outside my apartment, though the hallway should have been empty, taller than ever, stretching impossibly to the ceiling. His presence pressed against me, heavy, suffocating, omnipresent. I turned to bolt, and the hallway stretched endlessly. No stairs, no doors, just infinite gray carpet and fluorescent lights, flickering, buzzing. The whispers intensified. You belong to 7B, forever. I ran, but it was no use. Every hallway turned into another hallway. Every door led to another door. I was trapped in the building, or maybe the building was trapped in me. I don't remember how long I ran. Minutes? Hours? Days? Time felt distorted. Finally, I collapsed against a wall, exhausted. That's when I saw it. A mirror, my reflection, and behind me, the figure, featureless, tilting its head, smiling without a mouth. I screamed, and then everything went black. I woke up in my apartment bed. Morning sunlight streamed through the window. The building looked normal. No shadows. No whispers. The hallway outside 7A was empty. I told myself it was a dream, a hallucination, stress, anxiety. But the next night, the footsteps returned. And now I know I can't leave. I know the figure waits, always patient learning. Every reflection shows him. Every hallway bends around him. Every night, he whispers my name. I don't know how much longer I can stay sane. I don't know if I can ever leave. But I know one thing. The man in 7B will be there, watching, waiting, until I belong to the building entirely. And I'm already running out of time. I grew up near Hollow Ridge Lake, a quiet, still body of water surrounded by dense pine forests and steep rocky cliffs. Locals treated the lake with an unsettling mix of reverence and superstition. They fished there, picnicked there, camped there, but no one swam in it. No one stayed near it after dark. Whenever I asked why, the elders gave the same answer. Because the lake remembers. I always thought it was just a poetic way of saying the lake was dangerous. Deep, cold, full of sharp rocks. But after everything that happened, after everything I heard and everything I saw, I know the truth. The lake doesn't just remember. It listens. It hunts. And eventually it calls you back. I left my hometown as soon as I turned 18. I wanted nothing to do with the suffocating silence of the lake, the fog-drenched mornings, the eerie stories adults whispered whenever a tourist disappeared near the cliffs. But years later, after my mother passed away, I came back to settle her old cabin. It sat right at the edge of the forest, barely a 10-minute walk from the lake's northern shore. It wasn't until the first night back that I realized how much I had forgotten. The silence here isn't normal silence. It doesn't just fill the air, it replaces it. No birds, no crickets, no rustling leaves. Just a faint, constant hum of something deep beneath the surface of the lake. Something breathing. I could hear it from the cabin window. Slow, heavy, rhythmic. The lake remembers. I tried to sleep, but couldn't. The hum grew louder the longer I listened. Not in volume, but in proximity. Like whatever was beneath the water slowly turned its attention toward me. At some point in the night, I heard it. A single knock on the wooden cabin wall. No one was outside. Of that, I'm certain. The forest was too still, too watchful. The next morning, strange footprints, bare, human, were in the mud leading directly from the lake to my cabin door. On the second day, I walked down to the lake. I told myself I needed closure, whatever that meant. I hadn't been this close to the water in over a decade. The air smelled the same, metallic, mineral, and faintly sweet, like wet stone mixed with something spoiled. The surface of the lake was unnaturally still, as though the slightest ripple would shatter something sacred. I threw a rock into the water. It never splashed. It sank silently, swallowed by the depth. When I leaned forward, peering into the mirror-black water, I swore I saw movement beneath the surface, shapes shifting, drifting in slow spirals. Then I heard it, quiet at first, then clearer. My name, whispered by a voice that sounded like mine, only older, wetter, stretched unnaturally long. I stumbled back, heart pounding. My throat felt dry, like the lake had sucked all the moisture from the air. As I turned to leave, something grabbed my ankle. A pale, bloated hand pushed through the surface of the lake, just one, and wrapped its swollen fingers around my leg. The nails were long and cracked. The skin was soft and spongy, leaving a cold imprint where it touched me. I kicked wildly until the grip loosened. The hand sank back beneath the water, the surface smoothing over instantly as though nothing had happened. I ran back to the cabin, shaking so violently I could barely close the door. That night, I heard the whisper again, this time coming from under the floorboards. My mother kept journals, old, dusty, leather-bound things filled with neat handwriting. I ignored them my whole life. But now, I tore through her desk, desperate for any explanation. I found an entry from the exact day we moved into the cabin. I was 4 years old. The lake whispered again. It knows us. It knows him. I don't know how to keep it away much longer. Another entry, years later. He sleepwalked into the woods again. I found him standing at the shoreline, staring at his reflection. He said the lake was telling him secrets. He said the water showed him a face. A chill ran down my spine. Was that me? The next page confirmed it. My name was written there. He asked why the lake calls his name, even during the day. I told him it was just his imagination. But the truth is, it's getting louder. The last entry was dated the year I left home. It's finally quiet now. The lake has stopped calling. It only calls the ones it claims. My hand shook as I closed the journal. So the lake didn't just remember. It chose. And now it had started calling again. Because I was back. On the fourth night, I woke to the house groaning. Not from age, but as if something heavy pressed against the underside of the floorboards. Then I heard water dripping, even though no rain had fallen. I grabbed a flashlight and followed the sound. It led to a corner of the living room, where the wooden boards seemed darker, swollen, wet. When I pressed my ear to the floor, I heard it, breathing, slow, heavy, as though the lake itself were beneath the cabin, inhaling and exhaling through the cracks in the wood. Then a voice spoke. "Let me in." I stumbled back. The flashlight flickered. Something thumped from underneath the floor, a slow, deliberate knock. Once, twice, 3 times. Water began seeping through the cracks, forming a dark puddle. My reflection rippled in it, except it wasn't my reflection. The face staring back at me was pale, bloated, eyes black and sunken, skin peeling like it had been in the water far too long. It smiled. I kicked the puddle instinctively, and the image broke. The water evaporated instantly, as if it had never been there. But the knock continued. All night. By the next morning, the forest felt wrong. Birds gathered on branches, but they didn't move. They didn't blink. They stared toward the lake, as if waiting for something. The ground felt softer, spongier, like a soaked sponge. Even the air felt heavier, thicker, humid. The lake was expanding, creeping outward, closer to the cabin. I tried to call for help. No signal, no internet. The landline had no dial tone. I was utterly alone. When night fell, the fog rolled in, dense, swirling, carrying voices within it. Not just whispers anymore. Cries, pleas, laughter, and beneath it all, the hum of the lake, the steady breathing, the pulse of something enormous and alive. I closed all the windows, locked all the doors, shut every curtain. But the fog pressed against the glass, pushing inward, eager. At around midnight, the voices became clear enough to distinguish. "Come back. You belong here. We miss you. We remember you." Then I heard a new voice. My mother's. Soft, broken, echoing from beneath the cabin. "Why did you leave me there?" I froze. She drowned when I was 16. Or that's what they told me. But if she was in that lake, if she was one of the voices, then nothing I believed about her death was true. The knocking under the floor started again. This time faster, harder, more urgent. "Let me out. Let me out. Let me out." I backed away slowly, tears in my eyes. My mother's voice grew clearer. "We're waiting for you." That night, the cabin shook violently. Dishes fell. Books toppled. The floorboard cracked. The entire structure groaned like it was going to collapse. The lake didn't want me near it anymore. It wanted me inside it. A deafening roar exploded outside, like a tidal wave crashing against the earth. Water slammed into the cabin walls, pouring in through the gaps. I ran to the door, but the moment I opened it, the lake surged inward, sweeping me off my feet. A cold, impossible force dragged me toward the forest path, toward the lake. I screamed, clawing at the mud, rocks, roots, anything to stop myself from sliding closer. But the water pulled harder, stronger, like dozens of cold hands gripping my legs, my arms, my clothes. When I reached the shoreline, the water rose up, not in a wave, but in a shape. A towering human figure made entirely of lake water, faces swirling within its body like trapped souls screaming silently. My mother's face slid across the watery surface, her mouth open in agony. Then another face, mine, older, drowned, bloated. The lake spoke through every face at once. "It's your turn." I was dragged underwater. Cold, crushing, absolute. The lake swallowed me whole. I sank deeper and deeper, past where light could reach, past any sense of up or down. Shapes drifted around me. Human shapes, floating silently, their bodies twisted by the pressure, their eyes wide open. Some reached out to me. Some mouthed words. Some wept. Some laughed. Then one grabbed my wrist. My mother, or what was left of her. Her lips moved slowly, her voice bubbling through the water. "You can still leave, but not by running." The water thickened around me. The pressure intensified. My lungs burned. I clawed upward, fighting the weight of the lake, fighting the hands grabbing at me, pulling me deeper. Then I felt the surface. Air. Light. I broke through, gasping desperately. The lake was silent again. Still. Empty. I crawled onto the shore, shaking violently, coughing up water until my throat burned. When I looked back, my reflection was gone. The water showed only the forest behind me. No face. No ripple. Nothing. The lake had taken something from me. Something I could never get back. I left the cabin at dawn. I didn't take anything with me. I didn't look back. The forest seemed to watch me as I went, but it didn't stop me. I drove for hours. Days. I didn't sleep. I didn't speak. I didn't think. But wherever I went, every reflective surface, mirrors, windows, puddles, showed nothing. No reflection. No silhouette. Just emptiness. And sometimes when I pass lakes or ponds or even deep shadows, I hear the whisper, "Come home," because now I know the truth. I didn't escape Hollow Ridge Lake. The lake let me go. For now. It took my reflection as a promise. A reminder. A claim. One day, it will come for me again. And when it does, I will hear the water breathing. I will feel the cold hands pulling. I will see the drowned faces waiting. And this time, I will make it back to shore.